Being a programmer is hard work. Writing code is hard work. No joke, I'm actually being serious. While some of the companies provide lofty residences, games, places for leisure, and lots of high-quality food, not all workplaces are built the same. Some put pressure on their developers until the moment they snap. Most infamously the game studios, as we have heard from a lot of disgruntled game devs for the past, well, I don't know, a decade and a half, I guess. Some are a bit more generous, letting their developers work an honest 9 to 5, with some expecting us to still be available after hours and some letting us enjoy the simple pleasures of life, whatever those might be for you. Be that as it may, we all encounter some obstacles during our work. Some pieces of code that have never been refactored, a function containing 800 or more lines of code and doing multiple different things, a variable misconfiguration, miscommunication with the backend developer which causes the addition of a singular button to take 2 weeks because Jimmy was on vacation, the PostgreSQL database not indexing things with an ID of over 4,294,967,296, or maybe just a bug in the hardware of our machines. We're never satisfied after a day's work if we haven't finished the task at hand. There's always something bugging us about it. Sometimes it keeps us awake at night for hours on end. It deflates our egos and makes us feel defeated. And it was like that for a while in the beginning, until 2008 to be exact. That is the year when Stack Overflow came out, the developer's best friend as it were. Its homepage looks something like this, and I'm only putting it here because none of you have probably ever seen it. You look at answers to the questions you have, whether it's for work or a simple passion project you might be building in your own spare time. For the uninitiated, Stack Overflow is a Q&A website for computer scientists, engineers, developers, coders, and programmers. It has been the saving grace of many devs on tight deadlines. And so it was, for a while. Think of it as a living, breathing community, because that's exactly what it was, and still is. People came and went, asked and answered, and gathered points in a gamified sort of system, requiring certain criteria to be met before dishing out new privileges. It has been an invaluable resource for developers and new age thinkers as well. The system worked really, really well and the people were happy. But it's all coming to a head, and very soon. And if Stack Overflow ever falls, though I doubt that it will anytime soon, it'll be because of the following factors. The main obstacle of Stack Overflow users being happy to use the service is the community culture espoused in their scripture. Namely, Stack Overflow has an algorithmic reputation when it comes to following the rules. Everything stated in the community guidelines has to be followed to a T, and there are many different guidelines to abide by, such as the article guidelines, code of conduct, many different how to do this or that articles, and the wall of text quickly adds up. So much so that a regular guy who just wants his question answered cannot and will not be bothered to read all of it, especially during company time. And the other users, or God forbid moderators, will take notice and, how to say this, appropriately sanction the conduct. This is all to say that Stack Overflow has a reputation for being strict and unwelcoming in the best case and downright cruel and abusive in the worst case. Many new users who have just recently made their accounts and posted their first question usually get a flurry of downvotes and comments to check the actual answer to the question at this link, loser, or something along the lines of, these don't belong here, I'm the moderator and I'm closing this question. Hell, I've had a Stack Overflow account for 4 years there, basically an eternity in dev years. and even I get some flack from time to time. It's basically a dead thing for me, since making that pivotal switch from Chrome to Edge. Copilot has been much friendlier to me, and I've just let my old account gather dust and, in a sense, die. I remember the day when I made my first question: how to create free trial for a service, a question which is now closed. I wanted to know how I would hook everything up in code, as I was still learning and nowhere near the level I am now, with much less exposure to fellow engineers and inquisitive thinkers. Yeah, it got bumped to shit. Yeah. This perfectly sums up how the community can be quite impatient with beginners or those who haven't thoroughly researched the questions previously asked, or the guidelines on how to ask them. I could spend 100 lifetimes doing nothing else but sunbathing with UVC sunlight exclusively, and still have a long way to go in order to achieve the toxicity levels of Stack Overflow. How do people even collaborate there? Well, the answer is they don't. The system of gaining privileges is gamified and gate-kept behind a certain threshold of reputation points, which is kind of like Reddit's karma. But they do differ in a couple of ways, or at least one crucial way. While the karma system of Reddit measures the good, the reputation points of Stack Overflow measure conformity to the rules, which is literally the exact opposite. In a race to gather as much of those, they inevitably step on some toes. A lot of toes, actually. All for the purpose of giving the appearance, the illusion of being a respectable member of the community. Meanwhile, the regular user probably couldn't stand the guy at all. The human side is exorcised, in a sense, and only the demons remain to wreak havoc. The system is due for some serious revision and long overhaul, as all it does is encouragement of competitiveness instead of collaboration.
Years ago now, I was downvoted into the ground. People said, you should just...
And even if you pass the first checkpoint, and many people get held up there, the quality of answers will vary significantly. Like night and day difference. Some people actually try to do good by explaining every one of their suggestions in excruciating detail and even provide some useful code snippets. These people are known as saints and should be canonized as such. Some people leave one or two liners which simply tackle the problem at hand, head on, and provide immediate solution without any in-depth explanation or context. Some answers lack proper citations and references, though this is code, none of that is, required. You just copy-paste it, rerun everything, and hope it works. If it does, you give the guy a check mark. If not, you just keep going.
My personal opinion of Stack Overflow is that it is the well-actually site.
Of course, no matter how much thought you've given to the question you're asking, the effort on the other side will never be proportional. The platform, or rather the people on the platform, aggressively mark questions as duplicates, even when they're not. Sometimes they might have a point, but most of the time this is completely out of touch. The community doesn't give a shit about the difference in the nuances, no matter how much they want us to believe that they do. This behavior usually leads to users seeking help on very specific issues, finding their questions closed without any satisfactory answers. Simply on a whim of some guy who, let's face it, really couldn't care less. But not before doing one extremely infuriating thing that the community has become infamous for.
There's the I use Arch, by the way, Rust, Dvorak, NeoVim, Emacs, whatever. There's like that group of people. Then there's the Stack Overflow well actually people. And those people are most certainly just the worst.
Dogpiling on the poor guy and flooding him with downvotes. Or maybe close votes as well. This is usually confusing for the new users and might discourage them from participating further in the future. This can lead to someone trying to score a few extra points by going on the offensive against this new dev who really just wants his question answered and to go back to work, thus gaming the system. Another infuriating thing is that all questions are treated equally, no matter if it was asked by a newly minted programmer who just wrote their first Hello World yesterday, or a PhD graduate with a degree in computer science. And since anyone and everyone can partake in giving answers to the questions, the user's expertise level or context in which the question was asked is usually given no weight on whether it's a duplicate or not. This has mostly led to an exodus of normal people from the app, only leaving trolls on the bridge. Stack Overflow also has a penchant for striking down anything which isn't directly tied to programming or technical questions. And I know this all too well. After all, I was already aggressively struck down for asking an architecture question on there. While their motto is "better programming is our goal," I believe the more fitting one is "if there's no code to show, it's gotta go." So it's really no wonder that some of the new devs have never even heard of Stack Overflow, while the vast majority of us old ones simply use LLMs for our problem-solving needs. I'm extremely happy and satisfied with the way Copilot answers my questions, and more importantly, the way it treats me, even though I know there's nothing human there. For those who really need that human factor in their conversations, they've massively been migrating to other services, apps, and sites with a similar purpose, most commonly Reddit and GitHub. There's this running joke of GitHub discussions being a well-organized, clean, and ordered room where everybody gets a turn, and Stack Overflow being this bloody battlefield where it's every man for themselves and nothing else. There are, however, and have always been popular alternatives, such as Quora, where you can not only ask questions about programming, but architecture as well. And screw that, that's thinking too small. It also allows questions about video and audio editing, music theory, history, grammar and linguistics, politics and geopolitics, personal relationship advice, and everything else under the sun. On top of that, it also encourages longer form answers and discussions, and your question will not be marked as a duplicate. It'll simply be merged with an already existing question of similar or identical content, which is a much more elegant solution that the guys from Stack Overflow could take for themselves as well. As long as it's not patented, at least.
This is the single most important advice I will ever tell you. Never, ever, for any reason, look at patents if you are a software engineer. If you are even known to look at patents, if you even have history of looking at patents, and you happen by accident to even see the title or any mentioned detail of any competitor on software engineering design patents, and your company is doing that, they actually have the right to sue you for patent infringement. It's like real talk. As a software engineer, never, ever, for any reason ever, open up patents. Ever. It is incredibly dangerous. It is wild that can even happen. But people will, and they do, and companies are pieces of crap sometimes. Also, software patents are insane. Just saying.
There's this other place called Code Ranch, which is quite cute in and of itself. It's a very friendly community of people encouraging one another, asking and answering questions, and generally being all-around good, caring, and polite individuals. They're extremely welcoming to beginners and provide an extensive supportive community. As far as I've seen, they do not aggressively, or at all, downvote you, and I haven't seen a single duplicate during my time there. Another human-friendly, non-AI platform is dev.to. The dev community is a vibrant platform where developers can share their knowledge, projects, and opinions. It's welcomed both absolute beginners and seasoned veterans of the profession, too. It allows developers to publish articles on a wide range of topics, including web development, AI, different programming languages, and much more, where they can cover tutorials, best practices, personal experiences, and insights. Aside from that, they also host challenges and contests that encourage participation and creativity. For example, they've recently partnered with Cloudflare for the Cloudflare AI Challenge, offering around $3,000 in prizes. After creating an account there, you can follow specific topics and developers you're interested in, with all the other fluff simply being cut out. This allows for staying up to date with the latest trends and discussions in your slice of the software world, though you could always shrink or expand it if there's ever a need for something like that. Unlike some other platforms, which I've spent a significant chunk of time talking about, Dev maintains a positive and supportive attitude and atmosphere. All in all, a phenomenal place to learn, ask questions, and share your expertise. That being said, Stack Overflow has been overly demonized lately, and we get caught up in all of it, up to the point of forgetting that there is some good that comes with the bad, which has survived throughout all these years. The removal of questions and duplication flagging, while annoying, does help the service to be more concise and helps you find solutions with ease. The difference between Stack Overflow and, let's say, Reddit is that Stack Overflow puts more emphasis on the result of the question and the answers provided, whereas Reddit encourages the process of finding a solution. Thus, we get an immediate answer on an accepted post on Stack Overflow, while we have to scroll long and hard to get the answers to our questions on Reddit. In conclusion, while the Stack Overflow community has specialized into getting an immediate result from the Google search engine, the lack of humanity leaves a lot to be desired. The rise of ChatGPT and Copilot is also making it become more and more obsolete. We can only hope they acknowledge the error of their ways, lest they be condemned to oblivion in the near future.